Joining us now to discuss the implications of this resolution on Israel is senior Israeli diplomat Dani Ayalon and CEO of the Hebrew City Organization, Golan. Thank you guys so much for coming in.
Most welcome.
Thank you.
So let's start with the big question. What is the true significance of this resolution passing in the UN Security Council? Are we going to actually see anything happen as a result of it?
I'm not sure that there will be any continuation. You see, the issue with the UN Security Council resolutions is the escalation process. For instance, before the Iraq War, there were 16 resolutions until sanctions and then force was, of course, authorized. Here, I believe it was taken under Chapter 6, not under Chapter 7, so it will not have much significance, except that there is a deviation from long-standing U.S. policy to defend Israel in this house of bigotry and bias, which is called the UN. And they have done it not only because they were friends and allies, because they realized that if they let the UN in, there is no chance for furthering any negotiation and peace, because it will lock the Palestinians into a very intransigent position, as it is now. And on the other hand, pushing Israel into the corner will not allow us to make any concessions either. So I think it was very bad for American interest, for our interests, and probably for
now speaking of American,
region.
Now speaking of American, Israeli relations, what is the significance of the U.S. choosing not to veto this resolution? Do you want to respond to that?
I have to say, I absolutely agree with everything that Dani says, but I have to be a little bit less politically correct, maybe because I can, and this is the way I've been speaking for the last few days. In my opinion, this is Obama's middle finger to Israel. This is the same president who has headed for Israel and for our prime minister for the last 8 years. And right before he leaves, while he's vacationing in Hawaii, in his $1 million vacation with his family, he authorized his people to not veto this decision, although he could have killed it. And I want to say something about this decision. Although, in my opinion, Israel should not only disregard this resolution, but it should disregard all resolutions by the UN, because we're talking about a bunch of people who are, I'm sorry, but anti-Semitic, detached from reality people. I think that Israel should remember that she has the right to build when and where it wants, like any other country in the world. So I believe that although this resolution will affect, if in the future we will want to come to the negotiation table, the Palestinians will come already to the table presuming they own our land, because this resolution is not only about the settlements, we're talking about the entire West Bank, our holy places, the Western Wall. In their opinion, we don't entitle to our entire country. But in the end of the day, we need to remember that this is the same UN who's been ignoring one of the worst massacres that this world have seen for the last years. When women and men and children are being slaughtered in Syria, they don't want to handle, big, rich Arab dictators, but they do want to pick on little Israel. And therefore, I think that, as Trump said, we should wait to January 20th and hope that the new ambassador, David Friedman, will move the embassy to Jerusalem, will say that Jerusalem is the eternal capital of Israel, and things will be different, and the budget from Israel and from the U.S. should be cut to the UN.
So I'd like to talk a little bit about, Israeli foreign affairs as a result of this resolution passing. We're speaking about the U.S. and kind of what the implications are for the U.S.-Israeli relationship, but there were other countries involved too that chose to support this resolution, and now the Israeli Prime Minister has to respond to those leaders. What are we going to see happen?
Well, there are two tracks. There is the multilateral and the bilateral. In the multilateral, always we had a disadvantage. There is this automatic majority because of the Arab votes, the Muslim votes, and of course their pressure on other countries. And there is the bilateral, where country to country, most states benefit from relations with us and they want to pursue it, and there is no change in the volume of trade, economic cooperation, technology transfer, you name it. But the problem is, of course, with the image and with the status when it comes to the public opinion. And the UN has been and continues to be the biggest delegitimizer for Israel. And this is just another example. So it is incumbent upon the Israeli diplomats now, the foreign ministry, the prime minister's office, and everybody that can do something to create kind of a network of support for Israel, whether it's in the social media, whether it's in the regular media, whether it's in campuses. It is very important to do it now.
So my final question for you guys, since we have a long show today, in response to this resolution, Gilad Erdan, Naftali Bennett, these Israeli leaders have come out and pushed for the unilateral annexation of large sections of the West Bank. What message does that send to the international community, and is that even a feasible move right now?
I completely think it's a valid move, and I do want to say that I do appreciate what Homeland Minister Gilad Erdan is doing on that matter, because I think they come from a point when they know that Israel has the right to continue and build on its land. And if we will, take seriously the decisions of the UN, we will need to get out of our country and look where to be. So I just want to say that I believe that just like the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has started putting sanctions lately on every country that voted for this shameful anti-Semitic resolution, I think that Gilad Erdan and Naftali Bennett are doing the right thing, and I think the only answer to this really shameful resolution is to continue to build in our land.
And Danny?
I would wait for Trump to get into office. I don't think that we should preempt, his arrival, and it would be very, very important to work together with the United States, to work together with the White House, to work together with the next president of the United States. And right now, I think there is no hurry. We are in control of the area, and we continue to do what we need to do.
Just one last sentence I wanted to say. When you were talking about the countries that voted against us, like Great Britain, like Germany, I just want to say that it worries me very much that the world wasn't going to take action against this decision. And it worries me that if someday we will find ourselves under attack from the world, that these countries won't be on our side. And that's why it's very important that the U.S. will promote, sanctions against the UN.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for coming in, and we will have to see the impact of this resolution in the near future.